think one of the things that's most important to me just about feedback in general is it's artistic collaboration. You know, as a designer myself, I'll work on something for a week and I'll get to a point where I just can't look at it anymore. I have to walk down the hall and find another artist on my team or a friend who artistically inspires me, that I'll put my artwork in front of them and say, hey, just tell me what you think. You know, what could I work on? Does this look right? Does this look great? Does this look terrible? Be honest. And for me, that's one thing I love about being able to provide feedback, is getting to collaborate with, you know, the students, artists, you know, just the general community of illustrators, in that we can sit down, look at work, and find different ways to make it better. And not just better as far as aesthetically looking better, but, you know, maybe it's something that I see that they couldn't have seen, you know, whether they looked at it for a year or for a week. And it's vice versa, you know, it's the same thing for me. I love being able to put something in front of somebody else, get their honest take, and see if there's a way that I can actually, you know, develop that design or illustration to get to a better spot. Hey Roy, Nate Wragg here. Just want to go over your assignment this week with you. What you've submitted is looking great, so let's go ahead and chat about it. So I think your expressions here are really fun. I love the design. I think, you know, as you said, the neutral pose has changed a little bit, but I still feel like the character is just evolving into more of itself rather than changing. So I think, you know, whatever adjustments you want to make so far, I think have looked great. I have a couple of thoughts, but overall I love the fact that you are, you know, really stretching the expressions and finding a way to sort of squash some of these other ones. And the neutral feels a little bit squashed as well, but it's a nice squash. It adds some variety with the larger chin. One of the big things I wanted to sort of talk to you about was two things individually. One was continuing to play with how this chin works. To me, I think this can actually be a sort of valuable asset to how you push your character's expressions. For example, if you round this out a little bit more to sort of play with the smile, and let's say the smile gets pushed a little bit, but you add this curve here up into the face, and it plays nicely with sort of the curve of the mouth, as you can see, and of course the curve of the nose. To me, this is a great way of slightly adjusting the chin where it's still playing with the same idea. The character's got a big chin, but you're allowing the squash and stretch to enhance the expression. Same thing here. You're actually doing it here, where you're sort of stretching the chin down. It's getting sort of longer and more sort of pushed. But I think here, you could even go a little bit narrower in the face. And if you felt that the chin was losing its volume, you could still push the chin out a little bit as you're going sort of more squashed in the top half of it. Again, that taper now reflects sort of the taper that you have in the mouth, if you catch my drift. Same thing here. This chin could actually come up. We don't want this character to suddenly now feel like Popeye, but just pushing it up a little bit almost sort of helps us find a little bit more expression and sort of range and playability with the chin to sort of move around and enhance the design. The other thing I wanted to talk to you a little bit about was the issue with the ear. And this is sort of just a general thought, is I have found it as a designer difficult to have the ear lower than where the mouth pushes up, because sometimes I find this space here to be a little bit restricting if I can't push this mouth all the way open because the ear isn't out of the way. So this could be something that you might want to, you know, consider to think about. Definitely doesn't have to change, but in a situation like this, if you really wanted to push this mouth open in this expression even more so, and say you wanted to squash out the jaw, now suddenly you're having to interfere with the ear. And whereas if the ear was a little bit higher, and I know this changes the design, but again, just think about it. It's not like it needs to happen. If the ear is higher up here, sort of out of the way, up by the eyes, now you can also, you know, push the cheek out a little bit. You can allow, things like this, where the ear would sort of be higher up here. The smile goes like this, and you can really sort of allow that jaw to sort of connect up and around behind that ear. Same thing here. So on and so forth. It just kind of puts the ear in a more comfortable spot, becomes less of a focal point, and you get to really sort of feel the length of that jaw and that chin because it comes all the way back up and connects up where the ear is, rather than connecting lower. Right now, in a way, it almost kind of feels like this is your jaw and the ear is sort of growing off of the jaw. So think about it. It's not necessarily a big deal. It's certainly not something that you need to change. But to me, I might find it to be a little bit more useful as far as expressions go if I actually raised the ear up and did something a little bit more like this. Gets that ear off of the cheek, off of the chin, and away from any expressions that might need to squash or stretch. And it just sort of, an ear is not really a sort of defining point of a style. So it could be something that, by just moving it up slightly, gives your character a little bit more flexibility and range of expression with the mouth, and eliminates that feeling that some expressions might make the ear feel like it's growing off the cheek and the jaw rather than connected to the head. So think about it. It's just something to think about, but your squash and stretch, your expressions are really fun. I love the way the design is coming together, so keep up the great work, and I look forward to seeing what you turn in next week.